welcome to another amazing week of the Homeschool Mom's Survival Guide. You are listening to Lisa Jorgensen and Amy Lucas, and this week we have kind of a fun topic for you. Fun little story. One of the first times that I ever hung out with Amy, we were camping, and Amy was brewing up some home-brewed itch cream with mint.
I remember this.
And I thought it was the funniest thing ever because I grew up in the city and I don't know anything about homeopathic medicine or anything like that. And I accused Amy of having a cauldron because she was brewing up her cauldron pot full of homemade medicine.
It's still on my wish list.
That is fantastic.
I don't have a cauldron. Yeah. Not yet.
So if anybody wants to donate a cauldron to Amy Lucas's medicine funds, that would be fantastic.
I just want a big cauldron that I can have out in the yard. Yeah. And, I'll have like my cross up in the yard too.
Yes.
So it's not like I'm witchcraft.
Yeah. Yes.
But
yes,
I can water bath outside. I can cook things. I can steep.
That would
you
be
have
nice.
no idea how serious I am that
would be amazing.
Would love a big cauldron.
I want a big cauldron too, but I don't have any use for it. I just want it because it would be cool.
Actually, fun fact, 2 of the houses that we were looking at before we decided on the one we were in literally had cauldrons. And I did not really like the house. I loved that they had cauldrons that would come with the house.
That's fantastic. Mm. It's like you're meant to have a cauldron.
I think it's in the cards.
I think if Mr. T is listening to this, he should probably stop on his way home and buy you a cauldron.
A real cauldron is not cheap.
No.
We might get a tractor before we get a cauldron. Yeah. But, I'm not setting the order.
That's just what it's looking like. It's
yes.
looking like you're going to have to get a tractor before the cauldron.
Yes.
That seems unfair.
Yes.
But, so today we will be discussing how Crunchy Amy lives her crunchy lifestyle and what is not crunchy called? Squishy?
I have no idea.
Am I like Squishy Lisa? I don't know if I like that or not. Squishy Lisa wants to become more crunchy so that when she grows up, she can be just like Crunchy Amy. I'm starting out slowly, but I have a long ways to go. So we are talking about homesteading today. We are switching it up a little bit because homesteading kind of goes hand in hand with homeschooling.
And I apologize for coughing.
So, Amy, tell us all about the fantastic world of crunchiness and how you became the crunch queen.
First off, except for the tiara that you purchased me that is currently sitting on my head that I love so much, because how could she have known that I needed a tiara?
Because who doesn't need a tiara? Yes.
It's funny. Geez, oh Petey's, maybe more than 20 years ago. Yeah, more than 20 years ago. I just started playing around with some things. I liked to make my own granola back then, and a few other little things, and people at work started calling me crunchy, that I was so crunchy. And I didn't really understand the term because I never considered myself, I thought it was more like hippie.
Okay.
Like free love, hippie kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I've never really been like that. Anybody who knows me knows that I am a conservative. I have conservative values. And so the whole idea of, free love, that whole movement never really appealed to me. But so honestly, if we fast forward to after my boys were born, some of this stuff happened when I got sick. And we now know that I have a lung disease, but at that point we didn't know I had a lung disease. And after the boys were born, we went raw vegan.
Oh, wow. That's a big change.
We were juicing, not a plug, not a shout out or sponsorship. Sick, Fat, and Nearly Dead is the name of the documentary, the first one that I ever watched. And it led me down a rabbit hole, and it's a rabbit hole that I have never come out of. And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's a lot of things within that I have kind of put aside, because if it didn't really work, if it wasn't tried and true, it's not something that I adopted into my lifestyle. For instance, Mr. Lucas, back then, we actually still drank. I don't drink any longer. I haven't had a drink of alcohol in decade, easy, probably going on 14 years. But when he would drink red wine, his teeth would stain purple.
That's not a good look.
It was not a good look. The dentist had told him that his enamel, like he didn't have good enamel on his teeth.
Okay.
And kind of the same thing would happen with coffee, like he'd get like this yellow kind of stain.
Yeah.
And so I started doing some research, and back then, remineralizing toothpaste was not a thing that the, Crest, Colgate, whoever had caught on to yet.
Okay.
It just was a homeopathic thing. And so I made my first batch, and he was my test case dummy, and he tried it for 30 days, and the biggest indicator if it was working first was when he drank red wine and his teeth no longer stained.
That's awesome.
And then it was about 6 months after that, he, like a filling in his mouth had cracked or something. I don't have any fillings. That's a lie. This year, I actually got my first cavity ever. At 48 years of age. Okay. My boys thought it was absolutely hilarious that I had to go through the same like drilling process, whatever. But it was just a small little like surface. So it wasn't like they had to drill out the whole tooth.
Yeah.
But still, I had to endure that. And there's a reason I don't like the dentist. And that's one of them. But I finally had to feel their pain. But I guess what happens when your filling like cracks or breaks, they have to do a crown, maybe it's called.
Okay.
It's
the thing that like covers up your tooth. I think that's called a crown.
Yeah, I think it's called a crown.
Okay.
And Travis's filling cracked. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to the dentist thinking he's got to get a crown. And in actuality, his tooth under the filling was so healthy then, they were able to just refill it.
That's awesome.
Fast forward a few years to Morgan, and he had the same thing happen, and they were able to just fill it again. So we're probably 18 years into using the toothpaste, It's not like traditional toothpaste. You have to be dedicated and in it. It doesn't taste like toothpaste. It's just different. It's just a different way. But it worked. And then I think the next big thing that we did was the deodorant. Travis used to pit out the underarms of his shirts.
Yep.
And it was really hard to get that yellowing out of his shirts.
Yeah.
And then a couple people very close to me ended up with breast cancer. And there is, the documentation out there that ties aluminum and other chemicals going into your armpit, that they directly seep in, and that can be a major cause of breast cancer.
Yeah.
I'm just going off of what I've read. I'm not stating that, it's all you believe what you want to believe.
Mrs. Lucas and I are not medical doctors. We are merely stating our own opinions and what we have found in our own research.
I mean, I have stayed at a Holiday Inn Express before.
So she's pretty close to a doctor.
It's basically the same thing.
If she stays one more time, she'll have her surgical specialization.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I could probably run the hospital.
Excellent.
So we started doing that, and at that point in the game, Travis was running triathlons, and he was training a lot, and so stinking a lot.
Yeah.
And what he noticed with the deodorant very quickly after he started using it was that he could forget to put it on a day. And at day 2, he still wasn't stinking.
That's awesome.
I just simply wanted it for the lack of chemicals. And I think it really, the toothpaste is one thing, but I think the deodorant really then sent me down another rabbit hole that just, I started making as many things as possible.
Is that why you suggested my first at-home make was the deodorant? Were you trying to push me right off the...
Well, you stink.
The crunchy cliff?
Yeah, you smell.
Oh.
That's what it was. Oh. No, I'm just kidding. You don't smell.
Bad.
She doesn't smell.
I don't have a sense of smell.
No.
So I could smell really bad and I wouldn't even know it.
And I've literally never gotten that close to.
And I would just think that Mrs. Lucas's eyes were watering for no reason.
Well, could be onions.
Yeah.
Onions are always a possibility. No. For you, I chose deodorant because I don't remember if I
think it was actually
pitched that at
because
you
of
or
JoJo.
you sparked that.
I think you told me you were making more, and I said I wanted to try it because my middle daughter has a horrible sensitivity to aluminum, and she, the deodorant that she has to buy is always really expensive, and she's 18 and just living on her own, so she's broke all the time and doesn't have, $12 to $18 to $24 to spend on deodorant.
No, it's cheap.
Yeah, so I wanted
Super
to.
cheap.
So I wanted to try and make it at home and see if I could make deodorant she could use that would be effective and not tear up her skin. I think it was actually me, but
the last time Travis did the math, and mind you, this is years ago, so inflation is a factor. Mm-hmm. But what I've done with inflation on some of that stuff is I have just bought in bigger bulk to keep the price down.
Makes sense.
But at one point, with reusing the containers, Travis estimated we were at about 14 cents per container.
That's awesome.
Of deodorant was our cost.
Nice.
So that's not a lot.
No.
And it does go on different, and it feels different when you first put it on, but I don't think after, I don't know, you've used it for a while now, right? Or did you go back?
No, still using it. I don't feel it at all after I put it on. Like, I don't feel...
The only thing that I'm doing with this next round is I'm taking the bentonite clay back out.
Yeah.
I know, was it your daughter's boyfriend?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had, and he got a rash.
Yeah.
Okay. Mine, it ended up getting warm and kind of melting a little bit.
Okay.
And it seemed to bring the bentonite clay more to the surface. And when I went to put it on, it clogged, and I got the same thing. So
okay.
I ended up having to go, sorry to offend anyone, a week without wearing anything.
Yeah.
Except, coconut oil I would put on. So that actually, plain coconut oil actually does have antimicrobial properties. So you can use that in place while you're trying to clarify. But I'm going to take that bentonite clay back out because it doesn't make as much a difference as I had hoped. Trav, it doesn't bother him, doesn't bother boys, but maybe I'm just more sensitive.
That could be.
So I'm going to take that back out. What did your daughters think of it? Did they use it?
Yeah, they both used it. They both liked it. My oldest daughter, whose boyfriend had the reaction, she just kept his too, because she was just going to use his after she used all of hers. And I don't know if she liked it because it worked better or if she liked it because it was free. Not really sure, but she said she doesn't stink with it, so she's happy.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So in 2014, when we decided that I was going to quit working and I was going to be home with the boys, my motivation turned towards what things can I do to cut costs in the home to help me be able to stay home and make it easier on my husband, who was going to be the sole breadwinner in the household.
Yeah.
And majority of the things that I do are in an attempt to cut costs and just find a way. But as the world has been changing, I find it more, it's almost like a personal challenge when you have something. Okay, baking powder.
Mm-hmm.
People buy baking powder, right? In the
Yes.
container for cooking. You get baking soda, you get baking powder, right?
Correct.
Baking powder is just baking soda and cornstarch.
Oh, I didn't know that.
To super cheap, to then when they combine the two together, they can put in this more expensive tiny can to sell you.
Huh.
So I do a lot of baking, and I've stopped buying baking powder, which also, fun fact, baking powder is also one you have to be careful of because many of them contain aluminum.
Oh, that's interesting.
But if you make it on your own,
yeah, you already know what goes into it.
you already know what goes into it.
Nice.
And that's kind of been, we moved up here to the country. We country now.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Shout out to our northern homeschool mamas. You know who you are. But our lifestyle took an even farther turn to crunchy, if you will. Where we've got chickens, and I have goats coming, and I've got my first, not first. I've grown in the past, but this is probably the biggest I've ever done, 50 by 50, 50 foot by 50 foot garden. And we tried to approach that with, okay, what are the things that we use most during the year? Like if we're going to the grocery store, what are our repeats? Onion, garlic will be in the fall, Roma tomatoes, turnips, basil, oregano, thyme, cilantro. I grow mint. I added lavender. Every hot pepper you can imagine. And we're just trying to be independent.
Yep.
Fun fact, last year, the USDA launched an initiative, kind of almost like community garden is what they're pitching it as. Register your garden or your farm on their website so that they can mark it on the map and know where everything is located.
Why would they need to know that?
That is the question, isn't it?
That seems suspicious.
Doesn't it though?
Yeah.
When you look and historically, the fires going on in Canada, if you go back in satellite imagery, you can conveniently see that quite a few of those fires started at exactly the same moment. Literally. I won't be registering anything.
No.
No way.
No.
I'm not doing that. That's too much in our personal business. The government doesn't need to know that much about me. I should know everything about what's going on in the government.
Yes.
I am free, and I will not register my garden. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. There are a lot of registries.
So really our end goal is just to be completely self-sufficient, to buy our food and groceries if we need to. We don't buy much at the grocery store anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's seriously crazy how little I go to the grocery store now.
That's awesome.
Whereas even a year ago, weekly, couple times a week, we were going and, $100 here, $300 there, this and that,
Grocery prices are no joke.
It's not good enough for me. I buy bulk sugar.
Okay.
I make my own brown sugar. I make my own powdered sugar.
I just recently learned how to do that, and I was absolutely amazed.
Aren't you?
I had no idea.
For what they charge?
Yeah.
For the...
Yeah.
So if you think of it in terms of, okay, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but if you go to like the lumber store, right? The more, like I'm looking here and you've got, these pieces of wood that have been cut down, right?
Yes.
That cost you money.
Yes.
Every time they made a cut, that adds more money to the price of that piece of wood that you are paying for.
Correct.
If you have the ability to buy larger pieces of wood and then cut them down with a table saw, whatever, to the sizes that you need, you will spend less money per foot, per board foot.
Correct.
For that lumber. Well, it's the same thing at the grocery store. The more they have manipulated that product or multiple products to make a new product, you're paying for that convenience of them making that new product for you. Period.
Yep.
And in addition to that, I think, wasn't it you that said the more you buy like the mixed herb, whatever, seasonings, they add stuff into it. Was it you that said that to me?
Nope, that wasn't me.
Okay, so
I didn't know that.
if you really pay attention to the spices that you're buying, even.
And now I'm gonna have to go through my spices too.
You've got anti-caking, you've got silicone
Preservatives.
dioxide, you've got all kinds of junk
All the chemicals.
you just don't need.
Yeah.
There's
Yep.
and really they aren't needed, but they're needed to sit on the store shelf.
Yes.
That's what they're needed for.
Yeah. If you're making it at home, you're making smaller batches, so you don't need, and you don't care if it sticks together a little bit. Whereas at the store, it has to look uniform and be aesthetically pleasing to the eye, or people aren't going to buy it.
Right.
Right.
So my dad went to Sicily.
Jealous.
I know.
That would be amazing.
Literally was the trip he and my mom were supposed to take together, and I'm so pleased that he did it. Like, he went and he did it on his own. And
That's amazing.
I think he said something along the lines of like 300-400 miles he walked, visiting.
Wow.
He was right on the Mediterranean. But when he came back, I'll tell you in a minute why I was shocked, but he called me on the phone and he said, I don't know if you knew that when you started homeschooling the boys that I was not your biggest fan. I thought that you were going to be messing things up and you were going to be messing them up. And he said, I want to tell you that with everything that's going on in this world, he said, I was wrong and I'm sorry. And I think you did exactly what you should have done.
That's awesome.
Okay, he's Sicilian, right?
Yeah.
So, like, everything's off my bucket list now if I die tomorrow. Like, I've heard a Sicilian apologize and admit that he was wrong.
That doesn't, admitting that they're wrong is
Literally,
not high on their list.
No, never wrong. Never wrong. Even if they're wrong, they're not wrong. You could have two Sicilians arguing. In fact, I remember being at a wedding, and if my Uncle Tom and Papa are ever listening to this, they are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But we were at a wedding, and in the room there were these cathedral ceilings, and the two of them were debating back and forth what the ceiling was made of. It was the oddest thing, so much to where they went and they found the janitor that was on duty and made him bring them up closer to, like, there was a access point so they could get closer to the ceiling to see what it was made of. And the cool thing about that is, I don't know who ended up being right and who ended up being wrong, but neither of them even admitted it. Like, they just let bygones be bygones and never admitted. And they just let it go once they knew the answer. And that is probably more what you would get with a Sicilian. Never trust a Sicilian when death is on the line, right? Isn't that the phrase from
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride?
It is.
Yeah. It's inconceivable. But, and then he said, now, he says, when you bought that property, he says, and you were talking about wanting to be, independent and self-sufficient, he said, I literally thought you were crazy. And I thought that it was going to be a big failure. And he says, now that I have spent all this time in Italy and everything is made fresh, nobody, like, what you eat is what is made fresh that day. And he said the food was just amazing. And he said, I think what you're attempting to do is awesome. And again, I was wrong and I'm sorry. And I thought, you know what? Again, from a Sicilian standpoint, I will relish in that for years to come. The moment that I heard him say that that he was wrong. But it felt so good. You know, you don't do these things looking to, I never set out to homeschool to please anyone else. God is the only person that I am ever concerned about pleasing. As long as what I'm doing is pleasing to him, that's all that matters to me, period.
Correct.
But it doesn't mean that, especially family members, when you hear them say that to you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it just meant the world to me that he supported what we're attempting to do.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of a crazy move, and it is a little chaotic, and getting that garden planted for the first, that was so much work. So much work. But now, you know, I have 4 rows of corn coming up, and things are starting to sprout, and it's just all circling back. And yeah, so some of it has become this experimental. There has to be a way that people once did this before there were these factories and companies to just make it, and I blindly bought the product.
Yes.
You know, you find out that, for instance, olive oil, the majority of the olive oils on the shelf at the grocery store are not even olive oil. Like, they're all pitching that olive oil is so healthy for you, and which it is, if it is actually olive oil.
Yeah.
But if you are ingesting corn oil or some other vegetable oil, blindly thinking you are getting the health benefits of olive oil, it is literally killing you. That is what causes arteries to clog.
Yeah.
And they are lying, and they are not regulating it. Vitamins, I don't need them to regulate it, but people need to understand that, be careful what you're buying and who you're buying from, and make sure you are reading those labels.
Yeah.
Because you could inadvertently be hurting yourself thinking, oh, I'm going to get healthy. Here, I'm going to say to you, majority of the health that you need does not come from a vitamin. It does not come from a pill in a bottle.
True.
So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Now I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I mean, I could list out, do you want to hear the things that no, it'll probably take too long to tell you the things that I make. Sometimes I forget all the things that I make. But I make, wow,
You're like, I make everything.
I do.
I make all the things.
I do, though.
Yes.
I wonder, you know, I have an older daughter, and she never got to see this side of me because we don't, she's not in our lives. She kind of got the test case, Amy, the very beginnings of failed attempts to do right.
Yeah.
And turned out wrong. Even with my cooking, you know, in the beginning, Mr. Lucas could have many, many stories to tell. But the boys, like, they legit think I'm the best cooker, you know, cook whatever on the planet. Like,
that's fantastic.
We go somewhere to a restaurant and somebody will make something and they're like, oh, this is really good. Yeah, but you should have what my mom makes. Like, why do we even go out to restaurants? Like, if they literally think, and I have a fan club like that at home,
That's fantastic.
it's just a lot of work sometimes.
Yeah. Yes. It's definitely more convenient to go out every once in a while than to cook everything from scratch at home.
Well, especially at the Taco King.
Yes. That place is amazing.
So there's this restaurant that we love to go to, and it's a Mexican restaurant. Should we give them a plug?
Yeah. Heck yeah, we should. They're amazing.
El Jalapeno
Yes. El
Is-
Jalapeno Taqueria.
is what it's called. But they literally just moved into a Burger King building, and they didn't really change anything. They just threw up some Mexican decorations and called it good. But it is so good.
The food is fantastic.
So good. In fact, I'm thinking, you don't have kids today. Mine are at home. We should probably go there for lunch.
We probably should.
You know, just to celebrate another successful podcast.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
Yes.
So
and
yeah.
with that, we're cutting off the podcast. We'll see you guys later. We're going to get tacos.
Tacos! No, seriously. Yeah. So what do you think? I don't know. Do you have questions? Or is it weird that I
am not anywhere near your level. I'm just trying to learn to be more crunchy. Right now, I could probably list off the things that I make and take the same amount of time that you would take to list the things that you do not make. Yeah, because I just started making stuff on my own. So,
Well, and we canned the chicken broth for you.
Yes.
Is that holding up well?
It is. It is. I have homemade chicken broth instead of store-bought, and it's fantastic. Mrs. Lucas made that. Amy made that for me.
Did the fat separate in some of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
It is.
It's the good fat. It's the good fat. Anytime you can say good fat,
Yeah.
it's just
I like it.
good.
And then, let's see. I make my own deodorant now.
Yay.
We talked about that earlier. I made my own laundry detergent,
Yes.
which I think is fabulous.
And
I
you, but you started, you got that stuff on your own. I don't think
I
I
did.
told you the recipe on that.
Nope.
And it was darn close to what I make, except
That's
you
awesome.
put in those harmful scent chemicals
I still have to have some chemicals in my stuff.
to add.
I'm not ready to like.
What was
go
it,
all
like a
the way yet.
lavender kind of,
I
which
don't
is
know.
not lavender.
No, it's not lavender. It was something. It's purple, but I don't know what it smells like. It's a scent bead.
Yes,
Smells
scent
like
beads.
something.
That's what it was. Scent
Yeah.
beads. I
Yeah.
did not approve of that point, and I did make sure to point that out to her. But I was super pleased.
Yeah.
I did mine. It cost me. This time I made a lot more. It cost me $55.
Yeah, that's about what I spent.
But it's about 4 years worth because I have enough to fill my container up a second time sitting in a tub down in the basement.
Nice. If my husband didn't use as much as he does when he does laundry, we would probably have that man.
Hold on a second.
He way overuses soap.
No, you only need a tablespoon of
I
this.
told him that. I even put a tablespoon in the little container.
Yeah, that's what I have.
And he used like half a container doing like 4 loads of laundry.
No.
Yeah. So if my husband wasn't wasteful, then we would have it for a lot longer, but that's okay. Little baby steps. Usually I do the laundry. It's only when he gets in there and tries to do his own laundry that we have issues.
So even,
So-
okay, I'm going to throw this out at you just so you know, because maybe you did know, maybe you didn't know. Dishwasher detergent.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a dishwasher?
Mhm.
How do you fill it? When you put your soap in, how do you fill it?
We have those little pods.
No,
things. We
no,
do.
come on.
We have pods. So
Come
I throw them in
on.
the bottom of the dishwasher.
Oh.
I don't put them in the little container.
Okay, those pots are not good.
I like my chemicals, Amy. Stop
Those
ruining
pods are
my
not good.
convenience.
Okay, this is what we do. Okay, I'm
Yes.
just going to tell you what we do.
Okay.
So we buy one box of the top brand, Cascade.
Okay.
We don't buy with bleach though in it because we are on Bowen septic. So I don't like adding bleach into anything.
That makes sense.
And then we buy one box of equivalent size, like dollar store brand.
Okay.
Because you mix them two together and it cleans no different. And
Nice.
it's like half the price. But did you know of the powder? You know how you'll have like two different cups to put the stuff in?
Yes.
Sometimes one is open and one's closed. And then,
Yeah.
right? It's like pre-wash and regular wash, I think is what they do.
Okay.
Did you know you only need a half a tablespoon in each of those?
No.
A lot of people fill those containers like completely up. You don't need that much.
When
to
I
clean.
used powder, that's what I did.
Yeah, no.
I always filled the whole thing up. But I only filled one of them. I never filled both.
Oh, girl, I can save you some money. No, seriously. You
Yeah.
only need like a half a tablespoon in
Oh.
each one, and it cleans just the same.
Nice to know.
And it's actually easier on your dishwasher.
Okay.
Those pods
Yeah.
in the hosing of your dishwasher can cause a lot of buildup and slime, and
Yeah.
they're not the best. Sorry to anybody that uses them, but
If you are listening to the show, just know that everything you love, Amy is going to ruin it for you at some point, or she's going to try. Like my Diet Coke. She's constantly pointing out that Diet Coke is going to kill me. And I keep telling her I'm going to die happy. So leave my Diet Coke alone.
aspartame is literally made from the poop of bacteria.
I like bacteria.
Sorry.
but Leave my bacteria poop alone.
It's bacteria poop. If you're drinking Diet Coke, you are drinking poop.
I drank my Diet Coke this morning. Just so you know. Do I have bacteria poop breath?
You know what? I am not going to get close enough to know if you have bacteria poop breath.
I just want you to know that this show just went really sideways.
But I did just share the recipe with my dad for mouthwash, if you're interested in that, to get rid of your poop breath.
No, I kind of like breathing on people with it. I'm like,
You're not right. Look, serious disclaimer. Y'all do whatever you want to do. You do you, I do me.
yep.
If you want some tips, I've got them. I believe wholeheartedly that anything that I am able to do is because God has allowed me to be able to do it.
Amen.
And so there is nothing that I do that I am not willing to share the information. It's funny,
Sure.
I used to, when I would make the flowers, my metal flowers that I make and
Yes.
sell sometimes, I told my mom one time that I was thinking about like having a class and, having everybody come over and they could make a flower. And she's like, well, why would you do that? Then everybody would know how to make it and you would be out of business. Okay, being crunchy is the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, majority of the people are not going to take the time
True.
to make the things that I do.
Yes.
And that's okay. That's your choice. You
Yep.
have to balance and decide how you want to spend your time.
Yeah.
I think if you remember in the recent past, a few times me complaining that I forget how much I make and it always sneaks up on me on an annual basis because
Yes.
everything is due to be made at like the same time.
All at once.
And then I'm crazy running around
Yep.
making everything to keep us going. But then I'm done. And,
Yeah.
you know.
And it's so worth it to have things that are healthy and not poisoning your family. And yeah, we did chicken for the first time this year. We did meat birds. And Amy already knows this story, but I'm going to tell the rest of you. We went to Tractor Supply, and we have never done chickens. Um, we had nothing set up for chickens. I didn't know we were going to buy chickens. My husband just decides when we get there, we're over there playing with the baby chicks. And I was like, oh, this is great. And he decides we're going to buy a few. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And the lady was like, yeah, if you take the rest of this bin, we'll give them to you for $2 a chicken instead of $2.70 a chicken. And my husband was like, deal, because that is a sale price right there. I said, how many birds are in that bin? He was like, I don't know. It'll be fine. 66 chickens. That's how many birds were in that bin. 66. So if you're going to start with meat birds, I highly recommend not starting with 66 of them and making sure that you have chicken things set up prior to bringing them home, because we did not. And our chickens spent like 2 weeks in our basement, which, ew. And then we got them moved out to the shed, and then they were moved out to the tractor. And then last week and this week, we got them all processed. So now they have been moved into the freezer, and they are ready for consumption. And it was a cool experience, though. I thought it was going to be a lot harder. I really thought that I was going to cry when I dropped them off to be processed. I did not do it myself. I know a lot of the people that we know man up and they do it themselves, and I do not have those cojones. I can't do that yet. Maybe one day I will be, when I'm crunchy like Amy, maybe if Mike gets me a cauldron, I could be crunchy like that and be able to process my own chickens. I don't know what a cauldron has to do with it. I'm just one more plug for getting a cauldron.
So question.
Yeah.
So how many pounds of meat on average per chicken did you get?
The birds, Mike was weighing the whole ones.
Okay.
And the whole ones that are already processed were about 6 to 8 pounds.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's bad. I know nothing, but they were little fat chickens. And we had several spicy nuggets who liked to bite me. Yeah, they were rude. Some of those chickens were jerks.
Yes.
And we had some chickens that were like really lazy and just laid there all the time. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to doing them again next year. And once we get out to the new property, we're going to get layer birds as well. So then we'll have birds that we're actually going to keep around.
But you've had those before.
No.
I thought you had layers.
No, we had one rooster one time, and that rooster hated us with a passion. And I don't know what we did to that thing, because the family that had him before us, he was great with the kids, he was great with the adults, he just didn't get along with the other chickens. Man, we got him, and he hated us. He would like chase our kid around and attack her. He would spur everybody. And he would try and fight our dog. My daughter's dog was a Malamute, is a Malamute. And this thing would stand on the other side of the fence, because the dogs were fenced in. It would stand on the other side of the fence and like fluff its tail feathers at the dog, just out of the dog's reach. And the dog would lose his mind. He would just be freaking out, like throwing himself against the fence, trying to get through. And it's like a cattle panel fence, so to get his head through. But that's it. And then the chicken, or rooster, I guess, the rooster misjudged how far he was from the fence. And he was not as far as he thought he was, and the Malamute got a hold of him and ripped him backwards through the fence, like half defeathered him on the fence. It was awful. And my daughter went outside to bring the dogs in from going to the bathroom and started like screaming for me, because I don't know what she thought I was going to do. I don't know if she thought I was going to like perform chicken CPR and save this thing or what, but it was dead. It was dead. And her dog had killed it. And then I was like, we are never, ever, ever, ever doing chickens again, because that was absolutely terrible. And then we got 66 of them. So apparently never came a lot sooner than I had anticipated.
We ended up with 70.
Yeah.
We've lost one.
That's good. That's good.
We only were going to get 50.
Yeah.
But
then you were like, the Jorgensens got 66, and we're crunchier than them.
And I do like to one-up you.
Yes!
Or four up
me.
you.
Yeah. 4 up me.
No, we went about ours a little bit different, along with everybody that was putting in their orders for 4-H. We ended up, they were shipped. Mm-hmm. And the first 2 rounds, a lot of them showed up and they were dead. I mean, like a lot. Because it wasn't as quick turnaround as it was supposed to be. Like they're born day one, they go into a box, and they're supposed to get there the next day, and that just did not happen.
Uh-oh.
So they ended up giving us extras.
Nice.
I guess maybe they felt bad.
Yeah.
Or they were trying to make sure that at least the amount that we ordered ended up showing up alive. Yeah. I don't know. So kind of sad that they passed, but you know,
that
whatever.
Stinks.
It happens.
Yeah.
You have to take that separation. Like if you're gonna attempt this lifestyle, a friend of mine, you really have to take the sentimental attachment away, because it is very matter of fact.
Yes.
When you're dealing with animals on a homestead, they have a purpose. Yeah, yep, they have a purpose. Yeah.
I had to tell Sebastian every time we went out there, do not get attached, do not name them, we are going to eat them. I was very clear with him every single time we went out, because he had started trying to like name them and was starting to try and bargain, like, can't we just keep one? And I was like, no, this kind of bird, they have a lot of health issues, and when they hit 8 weeks...
Do you know they are bred to never be satisfied? So they
That's
feel
why they eat
like
that way?
they're always hungry.
Oh, that's awful.
2 nights ago, we just started, so we're on a 12-hour cycle.
Okay, yes.
12 hours on, 12 hours off.
Yes.
And taking the food away.
Yeah.
Because they'll just keep eating.
Yeah.
And then they get heart attack.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, it's a different, but we, you know, our layers, we lost a few to heat stroke.
Yeah.
And that was a tough lesson for the boys, because my one son Bailey, like, he wanted to just keep going, keep trying. We can save these. And they literally were to the point where the humane thing was to put them down.
Yeah.
And trying to explain. And it was a sad moment for a second. I mean, it passed and he was okay after he thought about it for a while. But, you know, even though we're breeding the animals for a purpose, we're not trying to hurt anything. We want them to be killed in a humane manner, and we want them to have a clean, happy life, if you will, while they're alive.
Absolutely.
So we're trying to provide, but there's a real reality check when something ends up happening, and you have to put one down.
Yeah. Especially with those ones, because like if you lose a meat bird, I feel like that would be, we lost a couple meat birds in our flock, and it really wasn't traumatic.
No.
It wasn't as sad. Whereas the layers, you're going to keep them around their entire life. It's not like they're not going to have an 8-week lifespan.
No, for 5 to 6 months, they are literally just moochers.
Yes.
They are giving us nothing. It's like a newborn baby. It gives you nothing back.
Yes.
It's months before it makes its first sound, or it smiles at you. You're giving, and you get nothing back. And that's how some women just, they go crazy, you know, because you put your all into it, and then finally that one day happens and that baby smiles at you and you're like, oh, I want another one.
Yep. Yep.
And you forget how hard it was. Well, it's like dogs, right? You have a dog, it starts as a puppy, you know, it goes into adulthood, and however many years go by, and you forget what that puppy phase was like.
That puppy phase was terrible.
And you lose your dog.
Yeah.
And you're like, I want to get another one. And you're like, oh, this is such a wonderful thing. We're going to go, we're going to pick out a puppy, yay. And then
you get it home.
First 3 months at least are just, are you kidding me?
Yeah, no. I don't like the puppy phase.
Well, we are considering adding video to our podcast, whatever.
Yes.
And with that, I guess the question I would have, if anybody's listening here till the end, at some point, would you want us to do chatting, podcasts kind of thing. But while we're making some of the products that we make and talking about that stuff, I don't know if anybody would have any interest in learning how to do any of that, but that's
like
something.
instructional videos.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, while we're
like
we're talking, just like we talk right now, we could be making it, and
we could be actually doing something.
Yeah,
productive.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure that would make Mr. T and Mr. J a little happier.
Yes.
That we're
and they could see our beautiful smiling faces.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yes, because they can't tell that we're smiling.
I'm smiling. Okay. So should we wrap up for this?
We should. It's been an hour. So thank you all so much for joining with us. And we look forward to talking to you guys again. And in addition to the instructional videos, Mrs. Lucas and I have some big things coming down the pipeline that we've got planned. So stay tuned for more announcements about that later.
Big.
Big
things.
Like, I like big butts kind of big.
Yes.
Yes.
But without the butt part.
Without the butts.
Yeah.
No butts. Yes. You're not going to see our big butts or anything like that.
No.
We're not going that way.
Nope. Camera will be on face only.
Yes.
Thank you for supporting us, though.
Yes. We love you all, and we will see you later.
Take care.
Bye.